receive your love, knowing that I am enough, knowing that in you I trust. May I receive your love. Your hands extended out to me, your eyes filled with love. You say, my child, come unto me. I'll give you peace. I'll give you hope. I'll give you joy. For I am yours, and you are mine.
Holiness and justice, part of who you are. Beautiful connections to your name. When you speak, you tell us, listen for the sound. You are love. You are love. Love that drives our fear. Love that calls us up. Love that blesses enemies. Love that gives life. I've heard people curse you, curse what you're about. They don't seem to recognize your way. The way that you've shown us, the way you sacrifice. You are love. You are love. Love that drives our fear. Love that calls us out. Love that blesses enemies. Love that gives us life. Cool.
was tired, feared the worst and felt the fire. Lay it all down, lay it all down. Filled with all those anxious thoughts, all your doubts became your God. Lay it all down, lay it all down at the feet of Jesus. At the feet of Jesus. Lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down. Lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down. Oh, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down. At the feet of Jesus. At the feet of Jesus. When we've given up on better days, there are memories we can't erase. Lay it all down, lay it all down. We've come to fear what we can't explain. There's nothing here that can ease the pain. Lay it all down, lay it all down at the feet of Jesus. At the feet of Jesus. Lay it down. Lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down. Lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down. Oh, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down. At the feet of Jesus. At the feet of Jesus. Welcome, everybody. If you're curious and have come to seek, if you're weary and have come to rest, if you're grateful and have come to offer thanks, if you're wounded and have come to heal, if you're joyful and have come to celebrate, if you've been excluded and have come to belong, welcome. May you experience the embrace of Christ today. Next, we have our call to worship. Should be on the screen. Nice. The loving voice of Christ is calling. Let us come and worship our King. Come and see the beauty of God, the Maker's awesome deeds among us. Come and hear the holy whisper of God, the Spirit's comforting voice in our weary world. Come and touch the Word made flesh. Christ's presence made known to us in living water, broken bread, and abundant wine. Come, all who labor and are heavy laden. Christ will give us rest. You are not what you have done, or what has been done to you. You are something like the rising sun. Can't you see? You are new. You might have shame he left behind. But there's new life flowing through your veins. Leave some room to be surprised, 'cause you are new every morning. You are new every morning. Each day a resurrection, waiting to break through. You could try just for a start, and put the judge back on the shelf. All the love and kindness in your heart, have a little for yourself, 'cause you are new every morning. You are new every morning. Each day a resurrection, waiting to break through. And you think hope is lost, but it's just underground. The flame might be an ember, but the fire won't go out. All the evidence is pointing to the truth, that daily resurrection is still happening to you. You are new every morning. You are new every morning. Each day a resurrection, waiting to break through. You are new. Let the King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. You are good, good. Oh, 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 let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. You are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, is holding on to me. God is holding on.
Amen. Well, you may be seated. Yesterday, we were able to celebrate the birthday of one of our congregants of Doyle and also have an art opening. 88 years young and still making wild and wonderful things. And in response to that, or in anticipation of that, another one of our congregants, Tom, put together a poem to celebrate that day. And there was so much going on yesterday that he didn't get a chance to read it, so he's going to read that poem now, today for us. So it's a response of art to art is what this is. Let me make sure this is on. There you go, Tom.
This is called Creation Has Happened. Where did the hands last press into the clay, and lingering no more sought no further effect? When did last accent and that next to last word say, the power to be spent is now spent, minds connect? For us, we who create, ready now call a rest, proclaim a finish, an end, as close perfection can it be. Work for this on it newly done, have we achieved such a quest, and surrendered to spirit which said, work sufficient. See, for we do see creation has happened. Send thanks toward heaven's way, creation has happened. What last revision to the place where the dancer stepped? Final plaster, flake shaven, polished, a portrait hand, hard and white. The storyteller finishes, the tale then left in memory kept. Illustrations left in a daydream to return to some night. For us, we who create, ready now call a pause and look past busy hours or moments newly used. Together did it work well out for the maker, the player too, and because we know vast blessing is easy seen, is with his hands infused. We know, and yes we see, creation has happened. Raise honor and gratitude to God. Creation has happened. Did notes? Yes, so in a major key, just now a finale become. The lifting of singing voices, harmonies learned and in the air. All who sought to use their gifts, those gifts, installed in each heart a sum. To add to it a swell of praise our own and louder, next Jesus up there. For us, we who create, are ready now to those powers forth to bring more, to again surprise, including ourselves with what those minds given us being. Such a surprise and such God presence in it, to know he smiles as we and for, knowing we see as he, or soon we will, and all of us soon know that again, creation has happened.
I love that we have a faith family full of artists who can show just the creativity and the beauty of God through what he allows us to create. So thank you for sharing that, Tom. We did, by the way, call each other and match our outfits today. So today is yellow and blue day. Yeah. My name is Janice Nuuhiva. I am blessed to serve as an elder here, and I have a couple of announcements. If you're new, if this is your first time, welcome. We are so glad that you're here. You will find a QR code on the back of the pew seats, and we really encourage you to go ahead and scan that. There's a little button that says, I'm new, and then that gives us information about you, how to connect, but it also lets you know what's going on in the church, because sometimes in the summertime it can seem like maybe there's a little less going on, but we got a lot going on. So as you heard last night, we had the opening gallery reception and birthday party for Doyle. We've got this amazing thing called Crowded Tables, which is like, hey, come over, have dinner, have lunch, let's hang out, let's get to know each other. Very like no pressure, low key, and really good food. So how can you sign up for those? The QR code on the back of the pew. Our next Crowded Table will be July 30th, I think, so coming up. And then we'll have an after-church picnic on August 2nd, and then another Crowded Table on August 16th. And you're probably thinking, Janice, how in the world am I going to remember all this? You're not. That's why you should scan the QR code on the back of the pew, because that'll help you. Okay? Another opportunity that you don't want to miss is last Sunday, Pastor Matt preached on naming and renaming and the purpose, the influence of naming, and our church is currently going through a naming process. We have a fantastically creative naming team, and if you're like, oh man, I wasn't here last Sunday, I missed out, you did not. You still have the opportunity to connect. Just send an email to Pastor Matt at firstfree.com. Actually, it's not Pastor Matt, it's M. Tinken. Sorry, M. Tinken at firstfree.com. And share your thoughts. Because we want to be able to like really make sure that everybody feels like they've contributed. This is a faith community. It's a faith family. And in this family, like we all are free to share our thoughts and our opinions. So please, if you have any insight or anything you want to share, reach out to Matt, or reach out to any of the elders. I don't know, find a friend in the pew you're in, say, hey, how can I get in on this and share my voice? We'll connect you, because we don't want you to miss out on that. Moving on, I don't know, on the screen, do we have the generosity script? Yes, we do. Look at that. Ask and you shall receive. Great. Also, could we maybe have the air clear outside? No, not yet? Okay, sorry. I thought I'd try it, right? It's worth it. Okay, so one of the things that we really value in this faith community is generosity. The Lord loves a cheerful giver, and that is with our time and our talent. And you can see the talent throughout the room here with the art, the talent with the poem writing, with the music. All of that is an act of worship and a gift to God. So we have the script, if you will say this with me. This is our generosity prayer, and then we'll have a time of a generosity afterwards. Father, you are an abundant giver. There is nothing that we have that you have not given us. The way of your kingdom is the way of generosity. Help us to honor you with our resources. Free us from the deceit of riches. Lead us on the path of generosity. May it be for your glory, for the abundance of our lives, and for the sake of others. Amen. So if you're curious as to how to participate in generosity, there are several ways. You can, scan the QR code on the back of your pew. There's a way to contribute financially through that. If you prefer the actual act of giving, we have 2 wooden boxes at the back of the sanctuary that you can drop an offering in, cash or check. And the other way that we're going to experience generosity is through passing the peace. So we want to be generous with our resources, with our talents, but we also want to be generous with our lives. So pass the peace, share a moment of encouragement with each other, find somebody new and make them feel welcome. For all the introverts in the room, this is the time to refill your coffee. Know that we'll be coming back in about 3 minutes, and the band will call us back together as we continue to worship. So, one last thing. If you haven't met him, Raymond over here has a birthday today. So happy birthday, Raymond. Be sure to, We've got lots of July birthdays, right? We've got Raymond, Doyle, Bev celebrated on the 4th. And if anybody's like, hey, I'm a July birthday, please know that we extend our blessings and our peace to you. So time to pass the peace.
beseeching, may the Lord shine his face upon you. May the God of peace give you what you need to follow after him and do his holy will. And now a reading from Genesis 4, 1 through 16. Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, "With the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man." Later she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he replied. "Am I my brother's keeper?" The Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." But the Lord said to him, "Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain, so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. The word of God for the people of God.
Is it good or bad to believe in sin? This is admittedly a strange question for a Christian preacher to ask, but it's one worth asking. Is it good for you or bad for you to believe in sin? Jean Delamue, that's the best way I can pronounce it in French, a French historian, especially a historian of religion. He wrote a 677-page book tracing the teaching about sin from the Renaissance on and the repercussions of it. And he finds that the teachings of sin led those who taught about it and those who heard about it to experience excessive levels of fear, sometimes feeling it would have been better to not even exist at all. He said this at the end, in conclusion of the book. He says, quote, "Excessive fear, as well as an excessively promoted language of guilt, can paralyze, discourage, and alienate. Time and again, the present study has revealed, among Catholics as much as Protestants, this temptation to despair, which especially affected individuals on their deathbeds," he said. Is it good or bad to believe in sin? A certain understanding of sin had led to a particular style of Christian parenting, most famously taught by James Dobson, adopted by Focus on the Family. this was the idea that the will of a child is inherently sinful from birth and it needs to be broken. You need to break their will, sort of like you would do, when you're training a dog or a horse. Most of the time, the best way to break that sinful will would be through punishment and discipline. There are reports of Christian parents doing everything from light spanking to multiple days of forced fasting for kids as young as 3 years old. I'm forgetting the name of the author now, but if you have a strong stomach and you want to read about the history of this just from the last 50 years, come to me, I'll tell you the book to read about. But is it good or bad to believe in sin? Even more recently, there's been numerous academic, peer-reviewed, scientific studies that link belief in human sinfulness to psychological maladjustment. Belief in human sinfulness, they say, is associated with greater psychiatric symptomology, including anxiety, depression, hostility, interpersonal sensitivity, obsessive compulsion, paranoia, phobic anxiety, and somatization. In other words, certain beliefs about human sinfulness actually lead to more harm, more fear, more disconnection, and a life with less flourishing, less joy, less peace, and less love. This is a problem. Because no one can read Scripture with integrity and deny that it witnesses to the reality of sin. We are in a sermon series called Questions Welcome. Questions Welcome, where over the summer we decided to take submissions. Whatever questions people have, you could ask them, and myself and others teaching are going to do our best to respond. Not necessarily answer, but respond to the questions that were asked. And one of the questions was, what about sin? And the full question was this: what about sin and repentance or turning back on an individual level? How do we practically live more holy lives ourselves? Do you believe that individuals even choose to sin? Or is it we're all doing the best we can all the time, and that's what counts? This is a question about sin. And I think this question comes from the fact that I don't preach directly or explicitly about sin the same way that many other preachers do. I don't often stand from the stage and just say, stop sinning. These are sins, don't do them. It's not because I don't think sin matters. It's not because I don't think that we do individually make choices to sin. It's because of at least three things as I was thinking about an answer to this. It's interesting preaching on these questions because some of them are just like personal questions that someone's wondering about my own, understanding of things. It's hard sometimes to put those in the context of an actual sermon for a whole community. But here's why I might not explicitly preach on this very often. Three things. One, our context. Two, my own understanding or philosophy of change. And three would be my theological understanding of sin. Context, change, and a theological understanding of sin. Let me start with context. Imagine that you're tasked with teaching people baseball. Okay? This would not be good if I was tasked with teaching people baseball, because I don't really know how you do it. But imagine you're tasked with teaching people about baseball. Not just that they could understand the game, understand the theory of the game, but you actually want them to be able to play together as a team to play the game of baseball, how would you go about doing this? You might show them some videos of people playing baseball. You might go out to the field and throw some pitches and have them, practice their batting. You might teach them the different positions, right? All sorts of things like that. Okay, but now imagine that you have to teach baseball to a group of people who have taken a class about the history of baseball. They've never played baseball, but they took a class on the history of baseball, particularly about the problems. They learned that baseball, within its history, has some racist and homophobic and problematic background to it. So they have a healthy skepticism of baseball. How are you going to teach them to play baseball? You have to teach them a little differently, right? Okay, but now imagine you're teaching baseball to another group within there, and these are people who played baseball when they were kids. But they happen to have those intense coaches who just yell and scream and are so obsessed with winning and doing things right that whenever these now grown kids think about baseball, they just think about how inadequate they felt as children. They think about how much baseball made them feel like a failure. Okay, how would you teach them baseball, to play baseball? Be a little different, right? Okay, now let's imagine you're tasked with teaching baseball to a class where half of them were beaten, were physically beaten, and a baseball bat is what was used to beat that person at some point in their lives. Their only context for a bat is that it's been used to harm them. How do you talk about bats without triggering them? How do you teach someone to use a bat properly when every time you say the word bat or show a picture of a bat or bring a bat into the room, people wince or freeze or stop listening because the only way they could be safe was to disassociate every time a bat came into the picture again? Are you following? Our church is in a unique context, made up of unique people. In our neighborhood and in our church, words like Bible, words like sin, words like repentance, even the gospel, have connotations of harm. Sometimes because the Bible was weaponized against them. Sometimes because it was weaponized against their friend or family member. Sometimes because real harm was done to them in the name of these things. Context matters. Your stories and the stories of people in our neighborhood matter. It's interesting, a lot of the more recent theological work around sin, around the concept of sin, around the big Greek word hamartiology, from hamartia, Greek word for sin, a lot of this is being done saying, how does someone who was sinned against define sin? It's trying to approach it from a more trauma-informed standpoint, centering the survivor, the one who is sinned against, defining what is sin, rather than a theologian in their armchair defining some abstract category of sin. Jürgen Moltmann, who's one of the more famous, one of the more well-known theologians, German theologian of the 20th century, he said this: "Is there any point today in looking around for general phenomena to, quote, convince the world of sin and persuade men and women that in God's sight they are sinful? Or is it better to be specific and practical and to ask about the victims of sin and its perpetrators?" There's a Korean theologian, Andrew Sung Pak, who writes about the Korean concept of Han, which is this concept of woundedness. goes much beyond that, but he writes this whole book arguing about sin from the perspective of the one wounded by it. The context matters. But the other reason is that I don't believe people stop sinning if you just tell them to stop sinning. Real and deep, sustainable transformation doesn't happen that way. If I was a really good preacher, it's a big if there, but if I was a really good preacher, I might be able to guilt or shame, or better yet, inspire you to be more generous or more kind for a few days. I might be able to inspire you to stop scrolling on your phone so much, stop binging Netflix so much for the rest of Sunday. I might be able to get you to stop gambling, stop smoking, quit the addiction. Don't you know it offends God? Stop speaking so cruel to your spouse. I could probably get you to do that for a few days. But eventually the addiction wins. Eventually it's all too much again, and you need some kind of escape. And eventually your spouse acts like an idiot again, and you just can't help yourself. I can't get you to change. However, I believe that the Spirit, that Holy Spirit, is in charge of our spiritual formation. And that true and lasting change happens when we get in contact with the deep places within us and invite the deepness of God there. Which is why I spend less time telling you not to sin and more time encouraging you to create space in your life for God to show up. For the Spirit to do what only the Spirit can do anyways. I believe we need rhythms, disciplines, and practices in place that open us to God and to one another. We need solitude and silence and scripture. We need prayer. We need mature and trusted spiritual companions in our lives. Very rarely am I going to tell you to stop sinning, but I am going to tell you to turn off your phone and go for a walk. Ruth Haley Barton says it like this: I cannot transform myself or anyone else for that matter. What I can do is create the conditions in which spiritual transformation can take place by developing and maintaining a rhythm of spiritual practices that keep me open and available to God. This is why our mission statement begins creating space for all. It's not just a trendy way to say what we do. It's a belief that in the space in our lives, real transformation can happen. And we live in a culture where every bit of space in our life is contested for, is competed for. We think we need to monetize it oftentimes, or monetize it, hustle, or fill it with something that will give us some worth. So those are the first two reasons. One has to do with the cultural context of where we are, when we are, who we are, and the other has to do with how I actually believe change happens anyways. But then the third is theological, and with that, let's turn to what gets called the book of first mentions, Genesis. And go to the first mention of sin, which Donovan had read for us. It's in chapter 4 of Genesis. You know, in the first 3 chapters, you've got humanity being made, the world being made, humanity with God in Eden. Eden is the place of union with God. They walk with God in the cool of the day. And chapter 4 then is the beginning of alienation, of separation, of whatever the opposite of union is. I'm going to talk about this passage with three kind of theological frameworks for understanding sin. The first one is a nice Latin phrase, so you feel like, this was maybe worth the price of admission. You learn this Latin phrase you can take home. Homo incurvatus in se. Homo incurvatus in se. It means man curved in on himself. Man is in a human, not man is in a male. Humanity, a human curved in on themselves. The New Yorker did a great comic a few years back saying, this is Homo incurvatus in se, and it had someone on their smartphone, like curved in again. This goes back probably even further, but at least to Augustine. He saw sin as life lived in reference to the self only. And so sin was about disordered love. It was he talked about a privation of the good. It's a good thing, but then it's made less than by being only about yourself. Sin loves self more than other, self more than God. Selfish pride and self-obsession. In our story today, in verse 3 through 5, it says this. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry and his face was downcast. It's such an interesting story because there's nothing's been said that you need to offer anything to God at this point in the story. There's just these two brothers, and they decide it'd probably be good if we offered some of this goodness back to God. So they both do, but Cain's offering isn't accepted for whatever reason, or it isn't looked on with favor, and so Cain's relationship with his brother is severed. He begins comparing himself to his brother. God liked Abel's offering more, and this is unbearable for Cain. One way to think about sin in this way, as man curved in on himself, is, unhealthy pride. And I preface it with unhealthy because there is a sense of healthy pride, right? Loving something as it should be loved. You might be proud of your children. You might be proud of your country in a healthy way. You might be proud of yourself in a healthy way. And that's just proper self-esteem, a good appreciation of good things. But there's also an unhealthy comparative pride, the vice of pride. Pride that needs to compare itself to another person. C.S. Lewis writes on this. I'll read a little bit of an extended quote from his because it's helpful. He says, pride is essentially competitive. It's competitive by its very nature. While the other vices are competitive, so to speak, only by accident. Pride gets no pleasure out of having something, only out of having more of it than the next man. We say that people are proud of being rich or clever or good looking, but they are not. They are proud of being richer or cleverer or better looking than others. If everyone else became equally rich or clever or good-looking, there would be nothing to be proud about. It is the comparison that makes you proud, the pleasure of being above the rest. The Christians are right. It is pride which has been the chief cause of misery in every nation and every family since the world began. Other vices may sometimes bring people together. You may find good fellowship and jokes and friendliness among drunken people or unchaste people. But pride always means enmity. It is enmity. And not only enmity between man and man, but enmity to God. And you can see with Cain and Abel, Cain has this comparison to Abel that he's the older brother. He needs to be above him, but Abel's offering is better. It drives him mad. I mean, mad to the point of murder. In this framework, the opposite of sin, if sin is pride, would be humility. Be a proper understanding of the self, a groundedness. Maybe you've heard this before. I like it because it's interesting. But humility, when you go to the root word, it's the same root word that you get hummus from. Hummus. And hummus, kind of looks like a lighter color of mud, of earthiness, of just... Actually, at the art opening, at the birthday party, someone brought an olive tapenade hummus from Trader Joe's, and it was fantastic. The olives gave it the right amount of saltiness. Anyways, humility, earthiness would be the opposite. Okay, second understanding of sin is as estrangement, alienation, fragmentation. This is more, ontological or existential, this idea of being separate, estranged, alienated. The New Testament scholar Scott McKnight says, sin is the hyper-relational distortion and corruption of our relationship with God, therefore with self, with others, and with the world. It extends to every relationship. Paul Tillich wrote on this a lot, his understanding of sin. He names the condition of being separated from what he calls one's essential self, one's essential being. And that being is then the state of estrangement from God, from others, from oneself. So he chose not to really think about sin as particular, discrete, immoral acts. He said those acts are symptoms. They're symptoms of estrangement being the underlying condition. And I think this is interesting because if you say sin is separation, you could say, are we separated because we sin, because we do something wrong or offensive against God's law and therefore we're separated? Or with another person, right? I break your trust, I offend you, I harm you, and that separates our relationship. Is it the thing that separates, or is it a belief that I'm already separated that causes me to do the thing, right? The act. And that's a question worth considering. They have different outputs. Paul Tillich would say, no, you're separated, and that's why you might do these acts of harm. I like this because it makes room for that understanding of sin as something done to us, or even as something inherited, something that, generations before us have done. And it makes room for us to be able to name it, to grieve it, to recognize it as a woundedness. Richard Rohr said sin primarily describes a state of fragmentation, when the part thinks it's separate from the whole It's the loss of any inner experience of who we are in God. I think that quote is up there next, maybe. Oh, no, it is. I just left Scott McKnight's name on it. That's Richard. No, that's Scott McKnight. Go to the next one. Maybe? Nope. I lied. I didn't put Richard Rohr's on there. Anyways. I find that can be helpful, a helpful way to understand it. In this way, the opposite of sin as estrangement would be communion. Communion with God. Union with God. The opposite of sin as fragmentation would be wholeness, integrity, congruence, living in alignment with who you actually are before God in honesty. The longer quote that did just get put up there is by John Sidner, and he kind of shows how this concept of separation and the earlier concept of pride go together. It's a long quote. You can read it along on there if you want, or you can close your eyes and listen. But he says, if love unifies, then sin separates. Instead of reaching out to others, and this is the homo incurvatus in se, we coil into ourselves. He says we do this as individuals, sacrificing the common good to our petty selfishness. We do it as groups, looking for that negative reference group that our in-group can organize itself against. Such separation defies the intention of God who has joined all things together. All reality is non-dual, united in agape. It's a Greek word for self-giving love. Separation itself, separation from the environment so that we can exploit it, separation from our neighbors so that we can use them, separation from others so that we can condemn them, separation itself is sin, a tear in the fabric of being that demands mending. Sin alienates us from one another, then helps us come to terms with that alienation through the ruse of pride. Pride interprets the self as separate from and higher than others. In our story today, not only does Cain end up succumbing to sin that's crouching at the door and murders his brother, but then the response that God has is says, you know what? You're going to be a wanderer, a restless wanderer. You are going to be separated, alienated, estranged. And Cain says, this is too much to even bear. He says, you know what? If I'm wandering as a nomad in places that are unsafe, what if I get murdered? He takes on the fear of what he had just done to another, and it's overwhelming for him. The thought of living separated. I find deep healing in this metaphor of estrangement, separation, fragmentation. It's a helpful understanding of sin to me, but it can be missing a concept of our own culpability. Right? Well, it's just that I'm separated, so that's why I'm doing these sort of things. Our own culpability, our own need for forgiveness. So a final framework I want to offer is the vandalism of shalom. This is a concept from Cornelius Plantinga Jr., who Miles was the president of Calvin College for some time. And I find this to be really helpful. One, it just kind of sounds cool. Vandalism of shalom. But he talks about shalom. He has this book. It's called It's Not the Way It's Supposed to Be, A Breviary of Sin. It's a great book if you just want to read a book about the concept of sin. But he says this. He says, the webbing together of God, humans, and all creation in justice, fulfillment, and delight is what the Hebrew prophets call shalom. We call it peace, but it means far more than mere peace of mind or a ceasefire between enemies. In the Bible, shalom means universal flourishing, wholeness, and delight. A rich state of affairs in which natural needs are satisfied, natural gifts fruitfully employed, a state of affairs that inspires joyful wonder as its creator and savior opens doors and welcomes the creatures in whom he delights. Shalom, in other words, is the way things ought to be. He says sin, in short, is culpable shalom breaking. So something you are culpable for, aware of, willfully doing. And this is more helpful. He says this is more helpful than just like a random list of laws. He says God is, after all, not arbitrarily offended. That's important, that we don't develop a concept of God who is just arbitrarily offended. He says God hates sin, not just because it violates his law, but more substantively because it violates shalom, because it breaks the peace, because it interferes with the way things are supposed to be. There's a sense when he's talking about shalom that these things are all connected and intertwined together. He sounds like Martin Luther King, who famously said, in a real sense, we're all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Sin has very real effects in our lives with God and each other. Abel is dead. Abel's life, which is interesting, the word Abel basically means like lifeless or vapor. But Abel's life is snuffed out because Cain succumbed to sin. There are real facts in the real world when we make these choices. And Cain's sin has rippling effects, spiraling effects that go on. The kids of Cain are kids of a murderer. It affects generations of people. Sin is no small thing. Shalom has been vandalized. Cain is now alienated, a restless wanderer disconnected from the divine source of life. But if you read the end of that story, Cain says, they're going to kill me. Like people, if I'm off in the land of Nod, which is an odd name, it's a furniture company for kids' furniture, the land of Nod. Weird. Anyways, Cain, off in the land of Nod, east of Eden, and he says, they're going to kill me. They're going to murder me because I'm a murderer. And God says, I'm going to mark you. I'm going to mark you so that when people see you, they're going to know not to touch you. Because if they do, they're going to get 7 times the vengeance upon them. Sin is heartbreaking and disturbing, but there is always more grace than there is sin. What an odd story. It ends with God saying to the first murderer, I've got you. There's always more grace than there is sin. There was for Cain, and there is for us. When Jesus gives commentary on this story, it's in response to someone else, and he tells a story about two brothers. He tells a story about two brothers. One of the brothers, the younger one, asks for his father's inheritance and goes and wastes it. Ends up saying, well, it'd be better if I just came back and worked for my father because life would be better there. And is extravagantly, ludicrously embraced by his father. Embarrassingly, right? He girds his loins up and runs, indignified, to go and embrace his dead younger son. And the older brother is at home and is pissed. Comparison sneaks in again. And the father says, just come to the party. This is for you too. There's always enough room in the Father's house for both, which means there's surely enough room for you and me too. Amen. Well, now we get to come to this table, which is something we do every week. And we come to the table where Jesus broke bread and shared it with his disciples. The ones who would, in a few hours, deny that they even knew the man. Or one who, shorter than that, would take some money to give away where this Jesus was to betray him. Somehow there was room at the table for them all. Jesus, when he was at that table with his friends, he took bread, and after he had given thanks to God for it, he took it, broke it, he said, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And in the same way, after supper, he took the cup. Having poured it out, he said, "This is for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in remembrance of me." Whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes again. And so together we proclaim, great is the mystery of faith. Christ has died, Christ is risen, and Christ will come again. If you're visiting, wondering if this is for you, this is for all those who are hungry for Jesus, who claim Jesus as theirs. You'll simply go down either aisle. The only difference is that this aisle to your left has wine. This one to your right has grape juice. You put your hands out in a posture of receiving. You'll get some bread, and you can dip it in the cup or just have the bread alone. If you'd prefer or need gluten-free, that's these individual ones. And you can simply let the server know that. No one is demanded to come forward, but all are invited. If the communion servers could come forward now. These are the gifts of God for the people of God. Let's feast.
be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true child. Thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one. Riches I heed not, nor vain empty praise. Thou my inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only be first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure thou art. High King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, oh bright heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all.
Before I give this benediction, this blessing, this sending, I want to invite you downstairs. We usually have some treats and coffee and things like that, so you're welcome to come down there for as long or as little as you'd like and receive this benediction. You can put your hands in a posture of receiving if that's comfortable to you. May the God who made the world good go with you, opening your eyes to all the goodness around you. May the God who sees our wounds and the woundedness of his world go with you with hands that heal. May the God who is spirit enliven you, fill you with fire for all that your week entails. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.